And gentlemen, to another episode of the SMT podcast. We are live on September 5th.
Hold up.
It is a...
I got a question. What is going to happen this time? We're going to be discussing terahertz waves. Are we going to be discussing why deep dish pizza isn't pizza? Or Verizon? What's happening?
Well, what's happening is I'm going to wish these fine people a happy Labor Day. I hope that all of you were able to enjoy it to the fullest. I know over here we got a little bit of rain, but us East Coasters aren't afraid of it. We aren't going to melt like the Wicked Witch. Although someone that might melt... Although someone that might melt, depending on the spice that comes spewing out of me, maybe T-Mobile. They're under scrutiny with their standalone experience coming from Sneed as well. Verizon has some rumors of brewing for a new iPhone plan. Kind of feels like a deja vu moment. I kind of remember back when there was iPhone dedicated plans. And then there's an AT&T FirstNet updates coming in from Sneed and his testing. And of course, much more. But with that being said, Sneed, go ahead and take it away. Where do you want to start?
Dennis, thanks, man. Appreciate you doing the intro. We're going to do the whole speculation piece, actually. I have no proof, evidence, or reason to believe that this thing actually does exist, but there is rumor and speculation that it might be happening this week. There might be an announcement for a new iPhone plan that's going to be coming on from Verizon, and it's associated with the iPhone in this launch event this week for the iPhone 14. The reason I'm saying that I don't have reason to believe it actually exists is because none of my sources, none of my internals have been able to identify its existence. But there are some people who have been able to, I guess, get some leaks or something. I just haven't been able to identify them and locate them. So to me, this is rumor and speculation until it gets announced officially. Now, if I was able to obtain something that indicated otherwise, then yeah, we could run with it and call it something else. But for now, I'm just going to call it a rumor. And the way that it seems is that we're under the impression it's going to be a plan specific to the iPhone through Verizon that's going to be like device, service plan, Apple, what is it? The Apple One or whatever, like the news, the iCloud services, the storage, all that together built into this whole thing.
So,
all right. So I got to start here, Pete, real quick.
Okay.
The fact that it's
I'm just
Verizon,
going to make a comparison.
Well, the fact that it's Verizon isn't all that shocking because you remember when Hans was up there with the crocodile shoes for the iPhone 12, 5G. So, like, there's precedents that there's been a partnership, and they've been at these events,
I thought 5G was an AT&T thing.
Nah, man, it was
He's
Hans
making a 5G
and the now and later
joke.
Gators. Yeah,
he's making a 5G joke. That's what Pete's trying to go for.
5G. So, I don't know, man. I don't know what the price of the plan is going to be. I don't know if it actually is going to include a phone or if it's going to include services. Is it going to be just basically an iPhone branded Get More plan? I don't know, and I know the price. I don't have anything official to say this is definitely happening. This is definitely a thing. Nor do I even know if people actually want this. What's it going to do for you? Is it going to get you a discount on the phone itself? Is it going to be like the iPhone upgrade program? You know how like Apple does that thing, like the annual upgrade? I don't know, man. If anybody else out there has heard about these rumors, maybe they can comment on it. But
I'm hoping it's at least as good as the Pixel Pass by Google.
Well, Sneed, let me give you a blast from the past as I share my screen, because there's precedent for iPhone plans. Who remembers iPhone voice and data plans from AT&T?
Wait. I see nights and weekends. Where's that asterisk saying that they can arbitrarily change the time that nights or weekends begin?
Okay, Pete. Well, anyway, this is a throwback.
No, I'm freaking serious. There should be an asterisk
I
there.
know. You got charged. But listen, this is a throwback. A blast from the past. because there's been precedent for iPhone specific plans. The reason I brought this up is to answer or to address Sneed's point for speculation purposes. And the TLDR is basically this. AT&T basically just resold the same plans, except they called them iPhone only, and if I remember correctly, they did a minor little like discount on like the family plan pricing and like how subsidization worked to encourage iPhone sales at the time. So my bet is that Verizon literally just does something along the lines of like, if you get the Get More plan, you know, if you have Get More or higher, you get an iPhone 14 blah for free, essentially, whatever the cost is. So if it's $1,100, like was rumored that it's going to be $100 more expensive, Verizon covers the cost for you on those plans. And then if you have like say the new what are they calling it? The Welcome Unlimited plan, you're not going to be like eligible for the promos, neither will Starter. It'll probably kind of look similar to what like T-Mobile's been doing to push people on Magenta MAX, where they have like tiered promotional pricing or something. And they'll just say it's iPhone only. That's my bet, based off precedents, if it comes to fruition.
And pricing, how do we, what are we thinking here? I mean, are we talking, you know, are they going to do $100 a month for a line, gets you a phone and a line of service, you know, on any plans that are, you know, included? I'm just thinking about the structure of this, because that would essentially put the phone at like 40, 45, $50, and put the service at about $50.
I think that one line of the equivalent of a Get More would basically be, like $100, and there would be some type of caveat that basically says like, you're basically like, do you remember how Sprint was doing like iPhone Forever plans, where you basically like leased iPhones forever, but you could upgrade every year?
Do. Yeah.
I basically think it's going to look more like that, right? Like it'll be like $100, right, for the plan. It'll basically be Get More, essentially, and every year you just get the new iPhone. Like you're never owning the phone per se. Like there might be an option to buy it out or something, but like you're never really owning the phone. You won't see like an individual line item breaking down the cost of the phone on your bill. It'll just be like, this is your plan. You get to upgrade every year for iPhones. The iPhone Forever plan from Verizon 2.0. And it only works for iPhones. Like you can't switch to Samsungs. Like you're just stuck with iPhones on that plan.
RF Waves in the house. Anthony, good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. Yeah, man. Big term, I see you, man. Troy's in the house. SoFac. Yeah, so I don't know, man. You know what this actually made me think of? It made me think of like unique network access. Like, what if it's actually a different experience? Like, you know how like net neutrality is like, that's like a thing and people want it and it's come and gone and it's come back and all of that. Like, what if there actually was an iPhone QCI? Like, what if they actually created a slice for iPhones within the network itself on the consumer network? Like, Pete, what do you think about that being a possibility at some point?
Could have sworn that was an AT&T move, the iPhone QCI. You know how Dennis goes all gaga over the blue bubble life, and fact is AT&T can do FaceTime when it's basically running off a steam generator.
And yet somehow FaceTime works and T-Mobile can't do a FaceTime call, and Verizon is a little iffy based off the fact that I was connected to mmWave in Pittsburgh and testing it with
Yeah,
Sneed.
that's what I'm getting at. AT&T seems to have an iPhone QCI already that they don't talk about.
They don't, though. It's just a matter of better peering and better routing of traffic. Clearly, AT&T.
It's because the iPhone is optimized for the AT&T network.
Or clearly AT&T has a direct link to Apple servers.
Hear me out. This would work if Verizon figures out how much AT&T is paying them annually and gives them 33% more. That would probably kill AT&T's customer base, since everybody I know on AT&T has an iPhone.
So, Pete,
honestly,
is this why is this our conclusion as to why FaceTime calling is a nightmare on T-Mobile's network?
Yeah.
Damn.
They're not paying Apple or something.
Honestly, by the way, and EM Tech kind of brings this up, carriers already have separate like rate like provisioning in place for iPhones already. Like, I'll just give one basic example: visual voicemail, for example. Visual voicemail like has like its own provisioning for iPhone versus Android, with Verizon like already, with the tool they use. Like that's one example of something that's already semi custom, I guess. But I don't see them actually going into the network and dedicating like a network slice, as you're saying, Steed. I think that the end result would either be one of two scenarios. Either the experience would be worse for iPhone users because they'd have a smaller slice of spectrum compared to the broader scope of the network available, or it'd be the opposite of that. iPhone users would get a really great experience, and everybody else would just be screwed, which would basically alienate all Android customers of all kind, including yourself.
The way I envision it would be, it'd be a network slice for Apple services, not exactly the phone itself per se, right? So the iCloud services, the Apple ecosystem application suite, right? So everything that's going to run through unique, iOS apps. All right. So like iMessage, whatever that funky satellite thing is going to be with the iPhone, and like say for example like the satellite with Starlink, like those types of unique things would be all a part of that box. Like Pete's kind of done a good example of this description in his paper that he wrote. You can create these boxes within boxes, and like that's where I see it with Apple, and iOS relative to like AT&T, for example. But you could do that with any carrier. You could do it with any suite of
Mm-hmm.
apps, right? And if they could do that for third-party apps, why couldn't they do it for Apple services apps?
Those are third-party apps, and
Right, but I would treat. I mean, Apple's no regular third party, Pete. They're like that's like the
AT&T second
ultimate.
party.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, how
So
many? What are
you'd
they? A
need,
$3 trillion company, Pete? At this point?
yeah. So you'd need a like second party peering arrangements on a Verizon or T-Mobile network to deliver the inferior Duo experience. Or are they calling it Meet now? Let me double check.
You call it inferior, Pete, but yet it actually exists and doesn't die off after 6 months when Google gets bored.
Hey, I've been using Duo for 4 years.
Yep, same.
Google Messenger, Google Hangouts, Google Duo, Google
They're
Meets
all Meet
now.
now.
Yeah, now they're all Meet. My point is that Google kills off communication applications at a whim.
Hey, I'll just get pissed off at them when they get rid of messages.
Anywho, um, if they do it, like I said, I think it'll be like what I said earlier. I don't know if Verizon will actually do it, though. I can't see a reason for them to spend the money to make a dedicated anything for iPhone. Like, I know iPhone is the reason that drives sales and switches and stuff like that, but I don't I don't know, man. It just seems like at this stage of the game, it seems like spinning their wheels, especially when Verizon doesn't even have their standalone core in place to implement some of the things that you're talking about need to its highest efficiency.
Well, they do. It looks like they're getting close to a launch. Q4 puts it at earliest October and at latest December. I mean, here we are in September, Dennis. Could we could be a month away or 2 months away from a launch.
I mean, from
For
what I've heard from people in the community, Sneed, this is just what I've heard. Doesn't mean it's true, but our community members usually are pretty well informed. Verizon's been having some pretty big challenges with their standalone core. I don't think it's going to make it by end of this year, based off what I've heard.
Okay, I guess we'll have to be patient. Then we'll have to pump the brakes.
Or if
Fair
they,
enough.
or let me rephrase, if they do have you can't see my fingers. If they do have a standalone core, it's going to be more like T-Mobile standalone core, in that it's still at some point routing stuff back through the LTE core for like voice, for example.
Hey! They're working on that, and you can fault T-Mobile for that all you like, but I've yet to find a SA, AT&T, or Verizon anywhere near me.
My point wasn't to necessarily default T-Mobile per se. It was to highlight that no carrier is actually doing a standalone core, because if it's still routing and converting back into LTE for voice, then is it really standalone?
By the way, for all those who care about technical things, it's a PCG gateway he's referring to for the intake. And until we have isolated gateways to access the quote unquote core, we will not be seeing network slices.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and transition to the next story. FirstNet expands 5G in building 911 connectivity. This, I think, it was also mentioned on the AT&T news page, but I got it here from the telecompetitor. There's a link in the live chat for you guys. All right, so AT&T expanding the 5G connectivity for the FirstNet network. In addition, the carrier will boost in-building connectivity, will enhance the resilience of Tennessee's 911 network. It looks like some of the first cities that are getting this public safety upgrade: Boston, Charlotte, Chicago, Minneapolis, Nashville, Phoenix, Seattle, St. Louis. They'll be the first ones to get the mid-band 5G plus spectrum. So this is what they're talking about here is N77, which for AT&T is going to come in two varieties. Pete dubbed it, I think, most accurately 3.7. We'll call it the upper C-band. 3.45, we'll call it the lower C-band. I don't know what we'll do when the 3.1 gets auctioned, but we'll figure that out later. But AT&T has 40 megahertz of
Sneed.
the lower C-band, and then they have 80 megahertz, and in like Dallas, they got 100 megahertz of the upper C-band.
When 3.1 comes out, we can call it the grungy basement, or just call
the
it
basement C-band.
bottom low C-band or bottom C-band.
I
But
like
we can
Andromeda. Andromeda
No,
spectrum.
you
I
don't.
like that.
No,
I like that
no.
naming, man.
No.
It has to be technical, boring, and sound like an engineering term.
How
Let's
about
call
DoD?
it.
How about
Let's call
DoD
it
spectrum
lower C-band.
or DoD? We could just call it the DoD
The worst
spectrum.
part about the spectrum names, actually.
Dennis.
Well, so here's the problem with that, right?
The DoD uses so many other spectrum bands than this. So just calling it the DoD
Exactly. They have the
is
entire 3
disingenuous.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of sucks, bro. The naming is atrocious. We'll just do upper N77, lower N77. I don't know. That seems to make the most sense.
Or we just call it 3.4 or 3.7
I have a
gigahertz.
FirstNet line.
Yeah.
I have a FirstNet line. I have access to the mmWave 5G plus. There is no access to the mid-band. It hasn't been certified by the FirstNet. What is it called, Pete? The FirstNet Authority? Is that the best way to describe it?
That's their name.
So it hasn't been approved yet. You there, Pete? We good?
Yeah,
I
so
was
that's
saying that's their name and done.
Okay. Yeah, so we got this new Cell Booster Pro Mini that's going to be going out to some of these locations for qualifying agencies. The Cell Booster Pro will be aggregating band 14 along with the mid-band spectrum and other assets. So like if you got band 30, band 2, there's some other bands that are compatible with the booster. That'll provide an improved signal within some of these places, some of the buildings. I mean, some of these small cell booster pros or whatever, these small cells can do 45,000 square feet. Big shout out to the Moose man for kind of, putting this on our radar to look for this. Because we remember getting these kind of boosters, like the femto cells in the past, but they weren't this good. Like they weren't doing 45,000 square feet. They were doing like 5,000 square feet. 20,000 square feet was the business grade one, the pro grade one. So now they're able to support 200 users, 45,000 square feet. Those are huge upgrades to hardware. They're going to really improve signal indoors. I don't know what people are going to be paying for these things. I'd bet that they're quite pricey. But if the agency is, it's non-negotiable, you got to get signal in there. and it has to be a clean handoff. Like, this is going to be the best way to do it. I just don't know what it's going to cost, and I don't know about availability. Obviously, you got to be a FirstNet customer, you got to be an agency, but it's going to be there. So be on the lookout for this. I'll probably do an update for this once we find someone who has access to this and actually test it.
Yeah. One thing I will say is I'm not sure at the current moment how beneficial 5G connectivity is to FirstNet customers, because their main concern, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sneed, but their main concern overall, above all else, is just reliability of coverage, just having bars that work for basic data purposes and more so for like calling and like text communications, right?
I would not be shocked, Dennis, if NSA networking was the first phase for like the FirstNet midband 5G. Like, it wouldn't be on SA for a while. Like, I'm talking like a year or two. So, but that's just me speculating, because I've seen problems with the early onset of 5G. Like, I've seen 5G plus sites be pretty problematic. And then when I run the NPerf, it shows like server timeouts and poor uplink. You'd be better suited with a consistent, reliable connection on LTE, as long as it's not problematic like with some of the 5G plus sites.
Well, yeah, that's basically what I'm getting at. Like, what I'm saying is, like, I look at FirstNet kind of like I look at like enterprise customers, in that they want, even if it's not the latest shiny, they want the most stable version of whatever, right? Like it's like how IT departments, for example, for iPhones, whenever it comes to certifications and stuff for iPhones that's sent out by the company, they always restrict software updates on iOS until the next version of the iOS can be reviewed and approved to ensure that everything works for like company apps or whatever else that they load up on the phone. Like, they don't let you load up to the latest version, right? I feel like it's the kind of the same thing for wireless communications for first responders. I don't know if they're super uber eager to dive into the deep end pool of 5G quite yet, considering that, as Pete would phrase it, 5G by its very nature is still being baked in the oven. We don't even know all the spectrum that's going to be on air for it yet. We don't know.
Dude, Dennis,
What's up?
the 5G still hasn't been cracked out of the eggs for the quiche.
But yeah, like, you're getting my point, right? Like, I'm saying, like, for now, I think FirstNet customers are just happy with LT and ensuring that band 14 is.
Yeah, but that latency, Dennis, can really improve on a standalone core. So they should be motivated to get there sooner. You know what I mean?
Hold up, Sneed. Eric Johnson answers a valid question. When will the 3.1 gigahertz range be auctioned off? I believe that is
Year
when
and a half, 2 years?
No. Congress needs to give the FCC auction authority for that spectrum. Their authority to auction spectrum to cell phone providers ended with 108.
So when would you expect it, Pete?
Depends on how motivated the Congressional Budget Office is to announce how much the predicted earnings from that is, so they can incorporate it into uh, probably next year's tax bill.
Pete, that auction will generate 3.7 money.
Yeah, I know, but that needs to go through Congress, and it's probably going to be in a the next spending bill, as long as they can agree the period where more spectrum can be done and what spectrum can be sold in that period.
Hey, Sneed, while we're answering questions real quick, and before we switch to another topic, let's just address Bograta 61103's question real fast. He wants to know how speeds compare between Visible and Verizon's Unlimited Start and Welcome Unlimited, like how they compare to Visible's $30 plan.
Well, if we look at the basics, the Verizon Unlimited Start is QCI 9. So is Visible. In terms of the video resolution playback, they're going to be similar. Previously, the routing for visible servers was atrocious, so Verizon would have had an upper hand there. I'm not sure how they would compare today, because the way that the core for visible is now essentially like just Verizon prepaid. You are going to be the first to be deprived on the Verizon network if you have a visible line, unless you're connected to 5G ultra wideband, which puts you on QCI 7. Verizon Unlimited Start doesn't have QCI 7 because it doesn't have ultra wideband access. Neither does the visible $30 plan. So they're very similar. I think the only difference is you might feel more deprio on the visible $30 plan than the Verizon Unlimited Start plan, if at all, if that's possible. I guess that's the way it would work in technicalities. What up, Moose?
Basically, I would just say, Visible's $30 plan is the same as their what their $25 plan used to be. Except it's through the Verizon core, so it should be an identical experience to Welcome Unlimited, with the exception that Visible has a hard cap at 200 megabits per second on that plan, regardless of technology that you're connecting to, and Welcome Unlimited does not. So, as far as speeds go, Welcome Unlimited on paper, in theory, technically could get higher speeds, but your end-all be-all experience should be pretty comparable. And then regular unlimited start, also deprioed, will probably be a smidgen better, just an ever so slight smidgen. And the reason that I am saying that is because despite what Verizon says on their marketing, I know Carlos has been able to connect to ultra wideband and get ultra wideband access even without the $10 add-on. Like, the phone will still connect and it seems to still get the speed, even though Verizon says it doesn't have ultra wideband access. So at least for right now, based off of how that's being implemented, unlimited start regular is slightly better for that reason. But overall, in my personal humble opinion, I know you didn't ask for this part, but I think all three of those plans are pretty rough. I would recommend getting Visible's $45 plan because the premium data on Verizon's network really does make a big difference. And I think, Sneed, you would agree with me that priority data does matter when it comes to Verizon.
I do. What up, Moose? What's going on, bruh?
I'm undefeated, never lost.
I'm ready. I'm ready, dog. I'm telling you, I need a soundboard, man. I need a soundboard. Man. So, what was the topic so far?
So far, we talked about the potential of a iPhone-only plan for Verizon, the AT&T 5G FirstNet update, and then I believe we were going to be moving on to T-Mobile standalone talk.
What's the... Well, okay. The Verizon iPhone plan. Very interesting. I can theorize what it is, but isn't it interesting that Verizon, who does not have the lion's share of their network as iPhones, is going to create a plan specifically for iPhones? Isn't that interesting by itself? Like, well, hold on, just think about what I'm about to say.
Let's bring this back to your statement, right? A majority of phones on the Verizon network are iPhones. It might not be at the parity that you see on AT&T. Like, if AT&T's 90% of the phones on the AT&T network are iPhones, Verizon's probably 80%.
It's not even close to that. So I would say for Verizon has about 70 to 78%. No, actually, no, not even that high. I would say 65 to 75% market share of their own base on iPhone. Remember, those 4 years that Verizon did not have the iPhone were critical years for Samsung and other Android manufacturers on Verizon. So that has stayed with them. A lot of people have the Note on Verizon or an equivalent phone because they want a big freaking phone, right? With a stylist, right? Look at the Pixel. It was exclusive to Verizon for many years
But Moose,
because they had a bigger Android base.
It never happened, bro. Like the Pixel devices never sold, man. Big shout out to Green. Thanks for the super chat. Do you think the iPhone 14 will perform better than other Android phones with the X65 modem? I think it'll perform the same. It's you could maybe we see a better antenna arrangement. I don't know, but I bet you it'll be very similar. I don't think it'll be that much different. Go ahead.
I think the only thing.
Oh, go ahead, Dennis. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the only contributing factor that may make it perform better is more down to software. Specifically, I'm talking about how Samsung has leaned more and more towards battery conservation, and as such will frequently disconnect from N77 unless data is being utilized, which sometimes leads to some peculiar situations at times. If Apple decides to lean into having a preference to staying locked on to N77 instead of dropping down to LTE, then that would be the reason why I think it would perform slightly better. But it just depends about software and what Apple decides to do as far as like RSRP and when it deems it should be switching to a different band. Go ahead, Moose. Sorry.
No, the question that I posed, right, was, isn't it interesting that Verizon, who does not have as big of a market share within their own users, on iPhone compared to AT&T, they're going to create their own iPhone plan?
Has something to do with their promotions, Moose? Like not wanting to dig deep into the promotions and really take the hit to get people into these new phones?
Let me ask you a question.
Because we talked about AT&T being the best when it comes to promotions. So, like, is that Verizon just trying to think of something different?
Well, that's why I was going to ask you this question. Let's say, for an example, forget about the $1,000 promo. What if I told you if you choose this plan, you will get guaranteed every 2 years, so 24 months, the next iPhone, but the cost of that plan is going to be significantly higher. Would you be down? So you don't have a device payment anymore, but it is baked into the plan.
A flat fee, right, for the phone and the service, right?
Yes. Right. Would you do it?
One-stop shop, basically, right, Moose?
Yep. Would you do it?
Life is simple. Life is easy, right?
But it is expensive. It will be expensive.
I mean, you're basically talking about a throwback to what AT&T did. I showed it up earlier when you weren't here, Moose, but AT&T had those iPhone exclusive plans and Sprint with their iPhone for life.
Yep.
Would I do it personally? No. Reason being is because I may not always want to be upgrading to every iPhone. Like if Apple pulls what they did when they were having their little spat with Qualcomm, and they do some things that I don't like, then maybe I don't want iPhones. Maybe I want to switch to Android. And if it's a plan like that where it's only iPhone only upgrades and it's just baked into the cost, then I'm just paying more money for nothing.
Pete, what do you think about this one?
I was saying, I think it sounds like a Pixel Pass. I just hope it's as good as a Pixel Pass. I mean, I probably would have gotten a Pixel Pass on my 6 through Google if I wasn't thinking maybe the wife would get it as a hand-me-down. So, but if it is like that, it will probably up some consumer sales. So, I think it'd be nice.
That's what I think this plan is, though, Pete. That's what I'm thinking. That this supposedly rumored plan that Verizon's going to come out with is exactly how I am thinking. Right? It's a all-inclusive iPhone plan where you're guaranteed an upgrade, and it's baked into the plan.
Yeah, I mean, if you can say you don't have to worry about the financing fee, and you're locked in this price for the next, 3-4 years. You just trade in the old one per annum, and you're good to go. think Santiago Hernandez with his $10 super chat is along these lines. Says maybe this Verizon plan has to do with the rumor of Apple providing iPhone upgrades as a service, working together with the carriers on this. Actually, Santiago brings up a good point. If Sneed, if you remember correctly, isn't T-Mobile for Business doing something like this? Where you get the Apple stuff, and once a year you can trade up to get a new iPhone. It includes the Apple Care and basically advertising to not me.
Yeah, but that's all through Apple. You would just, your provider would just be T-Mobile. I don't know if it's something specific to T-Mobile. I know they do offer it, so yeah, you're right about that. I just don't know if there's any additional fee or a specific plan you have to be on. I think it's more of like a feature, isn't it?
It is a plan.
It is a plan. Okay, see, if it's
that
a
I'm
plan,
not going to convert to because 80% of the people on my account are
have
rocking
Android.
Android life.
Right. Yeah. I don't know, man. So in terms of the structure of this, like what Santiago's saying, and thanks for the super chat. The iPhone upgrade program with the Apple One services seems like a legitimate apparent bundle. I mean, okay, so like Carlos is saying here, $80 with auto pay, Apple Care on the plan, probably all that Apple One stuff too. I mean, $80 a month, but like, what's gonna be? Are you gonna be on like 480p video streaming? Are you gonna be on like 10 gigs of hotspot? Like, you might be downgrading your plan in a way. What if you're on Play More or Do More? They're basically gonna give you a start unlimited with an iPhone and tell you this is the best thing to go with your iPhone. Like, the hell? And then they're probably gonna have some $10 add-on, so you can get 1080p, and then $10 add-on to get you ultra wideband. The plan's gonna go up to $100.
Terrible.
And like, this is what I was saying, Moose. Like, you missed it on the Patreon stream. I was speculating, or no, was it on this stream? I forget. We were talking about the QCI piece. It was this stream. Do they create like a network slice at some point? Anything Apple associated goes into an Apple network slice on the network core. So like iMessage, iCloud services, all that stuff goes through the Apple network slice. And that includes like third-party apps that are in conjunction with iOS and Apple, including social media applications, right? Like, it doesn't take much for Apple to pull the strings and say, like, here's what we're doing with Snapchat, here's what we're doing with Instagram, right? Because they have so many creators and such that are on those platforms. That's kind of what I was thinking. Like, is that eventually? I'm not talking like this year. I'm talking like next year, year after. And this is just kind of like testing the waters for like who wants in on this, who wants an iPhone every year, and also wants all the Apple services, and also wants a bundle, phone plan with a phone price.
You could technically have this now, right? The iPhone upgrade program, if you are on a
but Moose, the plan would be named. The plan would be named like at Verizon. Like, you would go into your My Verizon app, and your plan would have like iPhone branding in it.
Right. What I'm saying though is, right, you could technically, like Pete was saying, right, have that exact same experience agnostic of the carrier, right? The Pixel Pass, there's a Samsung equivalent, apparently. I just found out about this. And then there's a iPhone upgrade program, right?
I have fears. I have a fear that the carriers want to close stores, decrease their retail footprint, and have people going into the Apple Store and dealing with it.
Well,
that's my fear. My fear is that
if you look at the T-Mobile, huh?
Go ahead, Moose.
No, remember what we talked about with the T-Mobile situation, right? T-Mobile has effectively placed an end date for their retail stores. Why? Because of this eSIM simplification of activation, their app, that is huge. I'm telling you this right now, ladies and gentlemen. They have effectively put an end date to their retail footprint, and I'll tell you why. Why would I need to go to a retail store if I can activate my latest and greatest iPhone from an app? I can add more lines.
Hey, Moose.
Yeah.
I have to order my Pixel through Google. I can't go into the Google Experience store. So, why the hell does Apple even have a store?
Moose, what's your estimation?
It's not like
people?
Hold up. It's not like they don't give your broken iPhone back to China to repair. Make it mail order.
Mm-hmm.
So, Moose, what's the number, like, as a percentage of people that just go into the Apple store and they say, here's my iPhone 11. I want the 14. I have Verizon. So they bring you the Verizon, quote unquote, Verizon model. They're just going to lock it for 60 days. They ask you who your carrier is. And people are dumb and won't say, give me the unlocked. They'll say, I have Verizon, right? They say, I have AT&T, whatever. They're gonna forego the carrier store experience, and they're just gonna go to Apple.
Well, I have some intel.
They can do pickups. Remember, they got Windows, dog. The Apple Windows, right? Don't they do pickups?
Yeah, I have a mole at the Apple retail now, and about 90% of their sales are in-store pickup. So they ordered it online. That speaks volumes. That speaks volumes right there. Now the second point is if you purchase an iPhone through Apple, right, but it's not through carrier financing, right, it's not locked to any carrier. Especially if you do the iPhone upgrade program, it's 110% unlocked. So that's, in my opinion, the best bet. You can put as many carriers as you want on there, eSIM or physical otherwise, right? But going back to the point that I'm making about T-Mobile has effectively put an end date to the retail expansion. I think it's going to first start in urban areas. They're going to have billboards. I'm telling you this, mark my words, 9/5/22. They're going to have billboards with a QR code, a big enough QR code where you can put your camera to it and you can download the eSIM app, and it's going to say in the billboard, try out our service for free for 3 months.
Oh, damn.
Put your camera to this. I'm telling you right now, mark my words, 9/5/2022. You know why? Because I would have fucking done that in 2018. I'm telling you, I mean, never lost.
Never lost.
Moose, I got a phone in 2019 that could do eSIM, so
exactly.
Yeah, I could see that working.
2018, I'm telling you, Sneed, I have never been wrong on this. 2018, I was yelling from the highest chairs possible, okay? You know what I'm saying? From the highest table possible, because I'm out in the mountain. There's no mountains in Dallas, okay? But I'm telling you, okay? I'm telling you.
Real quick, Moose.
Yeah.
Sucks to be you. Mountains kick ass.
I love the mountains. Trust me, I hike all the time when I'm back over there in SoCal. But my point is, I'm telling you, there's going to be billboards. There's going to be in the subways. There's going to be in the airplanes. Everywhere that you can put a QR code, Sneed.
Try me.
They're going to put a QR code and say, download this app, try out our service, activate in seconds. I'm telling you, the marketing is going to be so on point. They're going to be getting so many people just from this eSIM. It's out of control.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, because one thing that I will say that might throw a little bit of a thorn in T-Mobile side.
We're expecting Verizon to do away with retail first.
Or Verizon, or any of the carriers, I should say, is that all of the carriers in the U.S. have struggled a little bit when it comes to executing on eSIM and how easy and convenient it's supposed to be. Like Verizon and AT&T specifically are the ones that I'm looking at in particular here when it comes to their issues. AT&T and the fact that they want to send you out a literal physical QR code to activate, and in Verizon because they have issues with being able to move your eSIM line around between devices and what happens when you break your device, and other issues with how it's tied into like Apple IDs and stuff like that versus there's just issues with eSIM at the moment that need to be fleshed out, and that's just iPhone, not even talking about Android support here either.
Hey, Dennis, I'm going to say this once. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm still happy I have to call them to T-Mobile to enable an eSIM. It makes it that much harder for my numbers to just go poof.
Yeah, look, I'm just saying as someone that loves eSIM personally, and is the reason that I'm rocking an iPhone as my primary because they're the ones that have the best support for eSIM at the moment due to them being the dominant player in the US. I'm just saying eSIM still has some issues that need to be fleshed out that need to be addressed is all I'm
Like
saying.
with what Alternative Reality just said, AT&T prepaid doesn't work on Pixel 6 eSIM. That needs to be fixed.
Sure, that's like a great example. I mean, I'm just saying there's some issues that need to be addressed with eSIM still is what I'm leaving it at. But I want to segue into a new topic because I am genuinely and sincerely curious to hear T-Mobile's story time about his standalone experience with T-Mobile in his market, because everyone who has ever heard my voice should know by now that my experience with it has been very poor. So I'd be interested to see if Sneed's had a different experience, considering that geographically speaking, we're so close. Sneed? Did a wild Yasmin appear and steal you away?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Standalone 5G on T-Mobile in my market is awful. It is horribly bad for uplink. It makes like the simplest uplink task almost impossible. Like forget like uploading a video of any type of size. Like I'm not even talking like 1 gig, 2 gig, 4 gig, like 4K files. I'm talking like 1080p 2-minute video. It's not going to happen. I tried earlier today. It was not happening. And then it got hung up and stuck. So I was literally stuck with like 1 to 2, 3 megabits per second, even on N41, bro. Like the standalone networking is so beta that it actually degrades a paying customer's experience. Like I was dying to be on NSA. I was dying to be on N71 because the uplink was that weak and was that horrible an experience. Bro, jitter 550 millisecond. Latency 380. Like what the actual hell is going on? Like why are they doing this? Keep that SA stuff in a lab. Get it off the commercial network and stop aggravating customers. I have no idea what they're doing. I'm completely lost when they do stuff like this. So if you airplane mode, hopefully you get back onto NSA, it's much better. 20, 30 megabits uplink. You know, like I switched to LTE and automatically got like 10 megabits uplink on Edge Cell because I was probably on like a 5 or a 10 megahertz channel of band 71 LTE. It doesn't make any sense to operate it if it's performing that poorly. And like, Pete, can't they look at the logs on these data sessions? Like the actual engineers?
I mean, on the agreement I signed, they have the potential. So they should be able to.
Being able to and being able to actually have a method to search through all the data collected to make it useful and willingness to do so are two different things. I doubt they're looking at it.
Dennis, they own a utility to sift through that.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. I'm just saying that I doubt that they look at it, is my point. But Sneed,
The NSA is way better. The LTE is better. Like as an overall connection, this SA stuff is it's too problematic. They should remove that feature from the commercial network, from the commercial customer, put it back in the lab, do whatever, send out an upgrade, and then try it again. Just get it off the air. Seriously.
Sneed, your experience 100% lines up with mine. Standalone 5G is even worse over here than what you're experiencing, because at least you have, I think, 15 megahertz of band 71 allocated to it, if I'm not mistaken.
We have 20 megahertz total. There's 15 on NR and there's 5 on LTE.
Yes, okay. You have 15 on NR allocated to it, plus 100 megahertz N41. Over here, my friend, I get a whopping 5 megahertz of
but they're not
N71.
aggregating the carriers. So, like, I'm just getting one band.
You're just getting the 15 megahertz. That's it. They're not doing
I'm getting
N41
like the N41 like the N41, for example.
N41. Hold up. N41 has not been. It's being field tested in, I think, 6 markets at the moment on standalone. At the moment, if you're on standalone, you're basically on N71.
It's just not good, dude. But I want to get excited about standalone networking. I can't stand behind this degrading my experience. So,
Sneed, you need to come visit.
I know, but I need them to turn it off here. I don't want my phone going into this stupid mode.
Yeah, I know. They need to turn it off there, but you need to visit over here to see it good.
Yeah, sure. I mean, where it's working well, I don't know what they're doing special, but like, why can't they talk to them? Like, what's the secret to the sauce, man?
I don't think that's publicly disclosable.
No.
Look, all I'll say is if you're on standalone over here, be prepared to get literally less than a megabit guaranteed for your download and less than a megabit guaranteed for your upload. It's going to be like you're on literally DSL.
I'm excited when they do the whole like nationwide N41 standalone. I'm excited to see what that does for the home internet customers. You know, I think that's
nothing because the 2 of the gateways that they have, I don't think can do standalone, can they? Can the trash can or the Arcadian use the standalone? I didn't think so.
They got a new one.
Okay, I'll rephrase. For 90% of the T-Mobile home internet customers, it does nothing. 10% they get the new stuff. They'll get the potentially benefit.
I don't know. We'll see if the next generation, whatever the next update comes, and then with new handsets and new gateways, we'll see if things change. It's not good right now for me. I don't want to be connected to it. I switched to LTE, dog, because I couldn't do anything.
Also, Carlos said, and this is what I thought. Yeah, it's N41 standalone aggregated with N71. Yeah,
I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen the extra N41. That sounds pretty cool because it's like, I think they have 160, 140 megahertz.
Well, that's how they're doing the 140 megahertz over here. That's how they're getting the 140 megahertz aggregated over here.
In my market, if I'm on SA, I'm only on N71.
Yo, so, Pete, they got like 45 megahertz of PCS here.
So in my market, remember how I said that they have that Amazon warehouse covered and there's 140 megahertz N41 on it? To get the 140 megahertz N41, you're on standalone. So it goes 100 megahertz, 40 megahertz, and then N71 for your uplink. So it's a three-way carrier ag. 2 N41 channels, 1 N71 channel.
It's doing all 3 together.
Mm-hmm.
That's a ton of spectrum.
And yet it's really garbage for uplink.
It doesn't make any sense, man. I think the problem is the hardware on the sites. I think the tower sites that, like, say for example, I'm connecting to when this happens, I think those sites aren't massive MIMO.
I think for one, they're not. I think they've capped out at 16 by 16, and with the spectrum, you can actually go into the 32 range. But I think another thing is only certain phones can connect to SA. So we're in the situation when they turned on N71 with LTE 471, where it's like the spectrum is being shared between the two, and it's based on it's a first come first serve priority with the SA and NSA on these connections.
The only phone that reliably connects to the standalone, which I don't like, is the S22 Ultra. I don't. Alan was saying his iPhone 13 never connects. I don't even think the iPhone 13 can't. Can the iPhone 13 connect to standalone? I'm not even 100% sure.
Yeah, it can.
Okay, then it just prefers NSA most of the time
because it's more stable. Stability is important, dude. You don't want to be on a freaking call and then you drop because of some SA connection.
I mean, calling experience on T-Mobile is going to be piss poor regardless.
Unless for some reason you're in my market or Salt Lake.
I'm just saying, Pete, you tell me all the time how my call quality sounds rough whenever I talk to you on T-Mobile.
Yeah, but
unless
it's
I'm
better
on
than
Wi-Fi
that.
calling. Unless I'm on
But
Wi-Fi calling.
I will tell you, it's better than that other Wi-Fi calling you did.
Yeah. He's talking about Google Voice.
Google Voice.
Yeah, Google Voice.
Google Voice compression is weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not great.
Did we get to everything that's in the title?
We did. We sure did.
There's a little bit of extra time. This stream tonight and the one on Patreon was done over Verizon 5G Ultra Wideband. Earlier today, we had the fiber go down for like an hour. So I had already started to make plans to like pivot and adjust. So because the fiber went down, I was like, all right, well, I got a Patreon live stream. I got a YouTube live stream. Let me just go ahead and start preparing for that. Let me start planning that. So I committed to it. I was going to all day run 2 TVs on the 5G Ultra Wideband, the iPad, a couple of devices, a couple more phones, the surveillance, right? And Dennis was right. On the main floor, the uplink was a little skimpy. So I knew when I was going to do my live streams, I was going to have to bring the device upstairs, get the phone closer to the wireless network adapter, here upstairs with the computer, and then just do the hotspot, and that it's holding up pretty good. I don't see nobody's reporting any issues. I don't really see too many hiccups. I ran some speed tests. It's holding up pretty good. I've been hotspotting off of the iPhone 13 Pro. It's warm. It's getting hot, and the battery is draining, but I've been able to manage the heat, and I've been able to kind of like keep the connections to like 2 or 3 at a time.
I love how when you're talking, you're like, yeah, it's been great, and then random robot noise happens immediately afterwards.
Oh, so it is hiccuping?
I think it's just because your phone's getting hot, but I'm just saying there was irony in the timing of it is all. No, you've been pretty solid throughout most of the stream. I think it's just because your phone's getting hot, but
yeah. So I mean it's running multiple devices. So
side note, I'm assuming you're using your OG unlimited plan for this, the one that has the true unlimited hotspot.
I am, but I don't know if it matters because the ultra wideband's all on QCI 7.
No, I'm just asking for the sake of asking because I was curious which you were using.
You know what? I'm gonna try that tomorrow. I'm gonna try the other plan too. But
Carlos
it is
said
older.
On your old plan, you do have unlimited hotspot at the higher QCI.
What I would be curious, Sneed, for you to do personally, once your data cycle resets for Xfinity, I would love for you to do a test with that, since that's like the only.
Dude. Dennis, I've been taxing the hell out of Xfinity Mobile, dog.
Oh, I know. I warned you because I got my little notification.
Dennis is going to get his line terminated.
No, he's not, because if Sneed does try that, I'll terminate his line first.
No. Dennis gave me the heads up. He said, you're at X number of gigs. Cool the jets. I was like, all right. Literally took the SIM out, put the FirstNet back into the iPhone 12 Pro, So we're good. But I got
he'll
all
be
of my
good.
testing done. What's that, Dennis?
I was like, yeah, you'll be good. 5 days. Give it 5 days, and then you can go ham again.
Dennis, I have pushed this Xfinity Mobile line to the maximus. I did everything. All the video in the world, all the hotspotting in the world, uploading files, doing the rendering on the device and then uploading it. I did it all. And like, I'm going to do my final review video, but it's pretty clear. For most of the month, for most of the applications that I'm using, it feels just like Verizon QCI 8. There's only one scenario where it's going to be noticeable, and that's when you're on LTE or like the DSS 5G and you're watching video. You're going to be capped at like 720p 480p. I think it's like 720p because I can sometimes get 1080p, but then it'll buffer because it's like 3.8 megs.
Yep, that's what regular Verizon plans to this day get capped at on DSS. So yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So, but like, how like, what is it, 20 gigs of and then it gets throttled.
Yeah.
So like that doesn't happen on the Verizon postpaid line. So that's really it though. I mean, when you're on the 5G ultra wideband, you can't tell the difference. They're the same. If you're under the 20 gigs, you can't tell the difference. They're the same. So it's like 90+% of the time, it's like the same. There was just the one time where I was noticing that video was buffering when I was trying to load up the YouTube TV, but it must have been past the 20 gig usage on LTE or something. So it stuttered momentarily, but that's it. That's it.
Do you want to know a fun fact, by the way, Sneed?
Fun fact with Dennis. Let's do it.
Yeah, fun fact for you. I mean, you typically blow past the 20 gigs within about 6 days of the cycle.
It's the speed testing, then. It's vicious, man.
But I'm saying that the reason I am saying that is because if you're saying that it's been the same regardless after like your first 6 days, then that tells me personally that the throttle isn't really getting in your way for every day.
No,
yeah,
it's not. You're right. Yeah, it's not that bad. It's not that noticeable. I can see a lot of people liking the service. I mean, if somebody was to leave Verizon and go with this route, they're going to feel pretty good about saving the money. Seriously, Dennis.
You know what we should have you do, by the way? I think it would be kind of fun. Maybe, possibly. Maybe have you calling in for mobile care with Xfinity. Make up some issues. See if they can help you out with something simple.
Such as?
Maybe it's something basic like turning on Wi-Fi calling. Like maybe you call in about having calling issues at your home and see if they suggest like Wi-Fi calling and help you set it up.
I'm still pissed that they don't give you the 5G UW icon so you know for sure what you got.
Yeah, but that's like an MVNO issue across the board though with Verizon, right? Like
it is, yeah.
I mean, shucks, actually expand this one step further. That's an issue with all MVNOs. Like look at T-Mobile, like Mint Mobile, for example, with ultra capacity. They don't have much.
Oh, yo, Dennis, highlight JC Hernandez. Highlight his
I saw that. And there's a reason why I'm keeping Sneed under a tight buckle of staying below 100 gigs because I don't feel like getting my Comcast services shut down. I like having them as an option.
So I like getting the notifications these random months where Sneed uses 100 gigs on T-Mobile.
Listen, if Sneed has a Magenta MAX line on my plan and he wants to use 2 terabytes, go ham.
Actually, by the end of the month, he's going to have 2 Magenta MAX lines, so I'm not even going to get those notifications.
But going back to what I was saying, like if he wants to go ham on some Magenta MAX lines, go ham. Xfinity, I don't play with the bear. Okay, Comcast knows how to really come down on someone as a company, and I don't feel like being in their crosshairs.
Hey Sneed, I got a new hashtag.
What is it?
Snuggle the bear.
Snug the bear. Oh, damn. I can't wait for the day where, the structure for plans changes. Like we sit here and we pussyfoot around these like throttles and these data deprio limits and thresholds. I can't wait for things to just be
Like Magenta
different.
Max.
Either that, Pete, or we get down to a clear per gig data rate that we can live with.
Yeah, I don't.
Like a more competitive rate. Like, say, for example, like let's say Mobile X becomes something that people like, and carriers look at it like, well, maybe we can actually monetize this model, and like it becomes more uniform and more generally accepted by the carriers and the consumer. Because like I could tell you guys right now, my usage on mobile networking now that I have fiber is very different. Now that I'm, I guess relying less on my mobile networking to upload content, it's changed my usage patterns. Like it just because I know I have gigabit speed on uplink, I just wait to upload stuff when I get home because I can get it done in 2 minutes. Trying to do it over LTE or even a mid-band 5G connection takes a long time. We're still not at that point where
COVID gutted my cell phone usage.
I mean,
but,
my
but
cell phone
you see what I'm
usage.
saying though, right, Pete? Like my usage has shifted completely now that I have fiber at the SMT HQ.
I can show you on my bill for your line that changing too.
I mean, my cell phone usage changed the moment that I became work from home. The moment I stopped commuting at all is when my cell phone usage basically went to like
That's
no
what I was
man's land.
getting at, Dennis.
But I don't want what you were saying, Pete. Like, I don't actually necessarily want to live in a Magenta Max world per se. Personally, in my ideal world, at least I want to clarify this to make it crystal clear. When it comes to mobile specifically, I'm not talking about home internet. Home internet data caps are bogus. There's no reason for them to exist. But for mobile, what I would like is just buying a bucket of data. So like, I know that seems like big, bad, and scary, but like, I'd like to be able to buy, say, 100 gigs of data for like $20 all in. $20, 100 gigs of data. And if I'm being really greedy, and I know this will never happen, it'd be nice if it was just like 100 gigs for me to use over the span of like a year. Not even like on a month. So like if I don't use it all 1 month, it's still there for me to just consume at my own pacing, rewarding me for not being heavy user. That's not going to happen realistically speaking. So let's just say a month.
I've got multiple lines that don't even make phone calls or send text messages.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when I say data only, I mean, I mean it.
Yeah,
right?
no, I agree with you.
I have some audit trails for one of those lines too.
I mean, I agree with you, Steve. I mean, I have 3 lines per minute to max. 2 of them go completely pretty much. Okay, one of them completely goes unused. The second one only gets used for testing. So, like, yeah, no, I agree with you, man. I mean, I don't know. Like, I just, instead of having all these caveats about resolution and all this other stuff, I would just like them to be like, okay, you get 100 gigs for, like, say the month, insert price of your choice, and I get to use it as hotspot, or if I want to stream 4K, that's my prerogative, and they can piss off, basically. Like, I hate this idea that, like, unlimited on device, but you only get X amount of high speed hotspot data and then slowed to like 2G speeds. Like, I don't like that concept. I'd rather just be told like, yeah, it's 100 gigs, here you are, instead of living in like this ominous terminage of like excessive use, just make it you cancel type of deal. But
hey guys, we got a super chat.
I see that.
Low key, $5 saying, data cap on home internet is dumb. I have fiber at my home and Cox limits me to, wow, that's an interesting number, 1,280 gigs per month unless I pay for unlimited.
It's I think it's 1080.
It's 1.2 terabytes.
Oh, it is?
Which, Yeah, it's 1.2 terabytes. That's Cox's data cap.
So you guys wonder why I always rag and dog Cox Communications? Like it's stuff like this, man. So Loki, what is it? The god of mischief, god of midnight mischief or whatever. It sucks, man. I'm sorry they're doing that to you. It's horrible policy. I hope someday some competent network gets built and it's not owned by them, and you can use that.
So can I say three quick points real fast? One, as I said before, data caps on home internet, absolute bogus. However, point number two, I do understand the reason they exist at the very least.
So Comcast can monetize their internet further?
Well, data caps existed well before cable TV started dying, Pete. Like, data caps have been around for quite a bit of time. In fact, there are more home internet service providers that have data caps in place than those that don't have data caps in place. And the amount of ISPs in the country that don't have data caps in place, I can literally name on one hand.
Name 4
that don't have data caps or do have data caps. Don't. AT&T Fiber specifically. Verizon Fios Fiber specifically. CenturyLink Fiber specifically. And technically Comcast, depending on what part of the country you live in. But
Nextlight Home Internet.
Yes, but I'm sticking to big companies, Pete, like ones that are like actual faces.
But you got on tonight's live stream.
But the reason why I said fiber specifically here is because AT&T has a data cap on their DSL. CenturyLink has data caps also on their DSL. Frontier has data caps on their DSL. And insert every other provider that you want me to list in this country that has a data cap, ranging from big to small, like Armstrong Cable having data caps. Now, anyway, going back to my main point here. Data caps are bogus, but I do understand why they exist, and it does have to do with money, obviously making extra profit. But more specifically here, the thought process outside of just pure monetization, at least for smaller providers, like I'm talking like super tiny, like a Blue Devil, is they pay a good amount of money for the interconnect fees. So it's a way for them to basically try to penalize. Penalize is the wrong word. But basically, if one person's using a ton of traffic 24/7 around the clock, there's a very good chance that if they're trying to keep things thin and as low cost as possible to them from like a maintenance cost standpoint, that they might run up against whatever their deal is they were able to work out with the tier 1 ISP, that they end up paying like increased rates from like say 4 to 6 p.m. during peak traffic times. Like they might have to pay some like peak traffic rate that's like really expensive. So this is a way for them to basically make up for their poor deployment strategy and not having the foresight to account for these things when working out the deals, or maybe they didn't have the leverage to have the purchasing power to, have the foresight to afford these types of things. I'm not saying it's justified. Like I said, it's still BS, but I can understand at least why they exist for smaller ISPs. For bigger ISPs, those like Comcast, there's no excuse. They have enough fiber and their own backbone to the point where they're basically like a tier 1 option. Cox falls somewhere in between. Despite Cox being in a couple states, they're actually still small in the grand scheme of things when we talk about ISPs in the country. I think they only have like 11 million broadband customers. Is that about right, Steen?
Yeah, I think so, about 9 or something.
Yeah, they're tiny compared to like Spectrum or Comcast. And the only reason why Spectrum doesn't have a data cap, by the way, is because of merger obligations with the FCC. But there's plenty of news articles that talk about Spectrum begging to be able to implement them during COVID, no less. So I think the industry is leaning more towards data caps being in vogue than not being in vogue, unfortunately, for us as consumers, which really, really sucks. And I will give Verizon credit for not implementing data caps on either their DSL or Fios products, which I give them adoration for. I did my extreme testing, was able to use 70 terabytes on my residential connection and didn't get shut off. So, no, I'm being serious. Props for props is due. Like I'm,
yeah.
Like that is proud, and And Comcast, in my market where they don't enforce the cap, also is truly uncapped, but I feel bad for other people that aren't so lucky. Oh, and also EMTech is saying that the obligations for Spectrum end this year, so don't be surprised if Spectrum introduces the data cap. I wouldn't be surprised personally.
Yo, EM, hit me in the DM. We're about to close out the stream here. I know we got 155 viewers. Please do me a solid.
Second super chat from Loki, by the way.
Oh, Loki, thanks for the super chat. Yeah, I know it's either Cox or it's CenturyLink, and neither are very good options. But do me a favor, guys. Please give this video, this live stream, a like. There's 155 of you here. Let's get the likes at least that high. The number of concurrent viewers here is, again, it's amazing to see the support and how much you guys seem to be enjoying the podcast, and we're happy to bring them to you, and we're happy to do them. Just please return the favor. Like the videos, like the live streams, share them. That helps out the channel very much. And big shout out to everybody who offered live chats tonight.
Hey,
super chats. Yeah.
Super chat for Green 9227, Santiago Hernandez, and 2 from Loki. We're about to close out, so if any buzzer beaters want to chime in,
I want a buzzer beat. I want a buzzer beat because I had a third point real quick, and this is somewhat important. I want to see if you agree with me, Sneed. For consumer services on home internet, I'm not necessarily entirely opposed to a quote-unquote data cap, so long as it's something like 500% or more above whatever the average is for usage on consumer lines. So, like, i.e., if the data cap was like 5 terabytes for, I don't know, this year, and it went up to like 5.5 terabytes the following year or whatever, and it kept increasing, so it's always like some order of magnitude higher for the price, I'm not necessarily opposed to it if it meant cheaper service rates. So, like, just because I'm against data caps doesn't also mean I'm not against getting a cheaper price if implementing a system like that meant cheaper pricing for the consumer. That was my third point I was going to say. We don't see that, though, but I'm just saying, like, if they wanted to structure things and not double dip on bitrate and instead do something more akin to, like, the wireless framework, like with how hotspot plans work, where, like, you just get gigs and get whatever the speed is that's available.
They would rather overcharge the masses for what they don't need than to accurately charge everyone, because their net profits would probably decrease per customer. They love the person who has unlimited that only uses 9 gigs a month.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. I'm just saying.
Probably, 2/3 of the consumer base that's like that uses 10, 12 gigs, 15 gigs, 20 gigs.
I mean, T-Mobile would be losing their bet on Magenta MAX with us.
This is terrible, man. This is terrible right here. I got to say something here on this. Rolando, man, we're going to nominate you as Hater of the Year. We have to. You have literally been hating on every C-band video I've dropped this week. You, sir, are nominated for Hater of the Year. I don't know if it's because you don't have C-band in your city, your market, but hey, man, if the shoe fits, wear it. We're going to nominate you Hater of the Year. Go ahead. Let's close out the show, unless you got one more point, Dennis.
I don't want to close the show quite yet. I just wanted to say something that I also said before. Mark my words, Sneed. You can go back to this specific clip here at the end of this show. T-Mobile, fixed wireless, the moment they get the opportunity, I guarantee you they implement data caps to monetize their fixed wireless further if they get the opportunity. Same with Verizon. With Verizon on the fixed wireless. Go ahead.
We got 2 buzzer beaters, one from MS at his trademark rate, saying great stream and happy Labor Day to everybody watching and on the panel.
Thanks, MS.
Indeed, happy Labor Day, everyone. Hope you had a peaceful, non-laborious day. And we got $10 from Pete Fox saying, what does the panel think? Will T-Mobile SA improve their voice quality? Great stream as always.
I mean, yes, based off of what Pete told me in Utah.
It depends on the market and how well they implement it.
But yeah, I was going to say, like all things in life, it depends on execution. The same way you've heard these words come out of my mouth that just because you have fiber doesn't mean it's going to immediately be good, aka my Verizon Fios experience of 6 months of pain. Because it's standalone doesn't mean the voice quality will magically improve on its own.
Dennis, did I tell you about my experience with FiOS in Rhode Island?
No, but I'm going to assume it was probably magical and sunshines and rainbows and unicorns because it's not Pittsburgh.
Oh hell no! That's the beach, even in a monsoon. No, it was so good we went back to Cox.
Gosh, Sneed, you hear that? Side note, Rolando gave you a response if you want to address it, Sneed. He said why he's not happy with the C-band rollout.
I don't know what to tell you, dog. I mean, you don't have to be miserable for everybody else. Hashtag high five the bear.
I mean, I only have Verizon C-band in one spot in my city, and
yeah, but
I'm happy for those who benefit from it.
Sneed, before we close up the show, man, what do you think, man? Do you agree with me? Verizon and T-Mobile fixed wireless. They're going to implement data caps as a way to monetize further when they get the opportunity.
What's your time frame?
I think it's going to be like boiling a frog. It'll be slow, but I think it'll start. I would say within the next 3 to 4 years. It depends on when adoption starts to peter out. So once adoption starts to slow, so like once we get past the part where they're getting like 1 million ads or whatever per year or more, like once that starts to peter out, that's when I think they're going to start focusing. One sec. That's when I think they're going to start focusing on monetization. That might start with increasing of rates or the data caps. Go ahead, Pete.
What the hell do you mean peter out?
Oh, that's your problem? The wording?
Yeah. Also, we got a $5 super chat from TJ saying nothing, but thank you for your generosity, sir.
TJ. Thank you, man. Yeah, I guess, Dennis, I could see it. Because the thing is there's no difference between Verizon and Cox and Comcast. Like, they're all the same. I mean, one is saving us from the other when the one is in the dominant position, right? And then if the shoe's on the other foot, the other entity is going to be saving the day. So but they're not really saving the day. They're just the new player, right? So like we've had this conversation. People are enamored by the T-Mobile and Verizon Home Internet because they're quote unquote saving us from cable. But like we know the DNA of these companies. They're all terrible. It's just one is loosening they're undoing the shackles temporarily, you know? I just hope people are able to get fast, reliable connectivity. Let these companies duke it out. Let them fight for our dollars, and we'll go from there. You know what I mean?
We had another super chat, but before we answer it, there's only one private ISP in this country who actually has incentive to not restrict your internet usage, and that's Google with Google Fiber. They're the only ones.
Well, they're an ads company.
Exactly.
Hey, we got another super chat. Thanks, man. He said, "Why?" This is from Loki again.
Third
Why in some
one.
markets you only have one home ISP as an option? That's not an option. You're stuck.
That's called monopoly.
If he's asking why,
because they've blocked out everybody else, probably.
Well, no. Let me answer. I think I'm going to answer the why here. So, Loki, the reason why you end up with only one option that offers broadband in the market comes down to two parts. One has to do with franchising agreements that used to be legal back in the day that cable ISPs used to sign with your local municipalities to be able to have access to the utility pools and like right away and stuff. Basically, Cable Co. X would allocate so much of the funds, which would probably show up as one of your fees, to your local municipality. And the local municipality would make money off it. In exchange, they'd get like an exclusivity agreement for X amount of years, typically 15, 20 years when they were being signed. So that's one thing that hampered things down. And then even once that was gone, the secondary problem is that the barrier to entry to become an ISP is exorbitantly expensive. It is a very capital intensive upfront investment to become an ISP. And the only way we're going to see that realistically change, I know you guys hate socialist Dennis, but like the only way you see that realistically change is if the state, the federal government basically came in and made publicly available infrastructure available to anyone that wanted to hook up to that line and basically kind of make an MVNO structured model of like reselling fiber. So basically federal government runs fiber to the house. They say, everybody needs to share this last mile run of fiber, like no privatization ownership of it, and then you put your equipment up at the pole, which is like the cheaper part, and then connect it to their backbone.
Comrade, take the fiber. It is good. Yeah.
Dosh is good.
Also, we get $1 super chat from Alternative Reality with a money mouth face.
Thanks, Alternative Reality. Appreciate it. And Rolando, you're good, man. You know I'm clowning. I'm just playing, bro. I don't
hold up. We also got Jazz Kevin Tech Review say with $5 saying keep up the great work. The buzzer beaters are coming out.
Yeah, they don't want the show to end, man. The show must go on, as they say, Sneed. Come on, get your Monster Energy or your coffee and a bowl of Wheaties to get the energy that you need to endure.
Dude, I got the energy. I'm just thirsty as hell, dude.
Bro, then go grab a tea. Bro, I have an empty glass of tea. If you want to hold it, dude, go grab a tea, and then I'll do the same thing, and then we'll hold it down for another 30 minutes.
Do you really think they'll wait for Sneed and I to brew some good hibiscus?
Loki coming in with another super chat.
Yep.
I want to read this one. So they won't allow monopoly in wireless, but okay in home ISP. That makes sense. So Loki, you're misunderstanding. There's nothing stopping another person from coming in to offer like internet to you on the home internet space anymore. Like what I was talking about was from like years ago, back with like cable, when TV cable television was still like a thing, before even like cable internet was a thing. The issue here is strictly capitalism at work. The cost to enter is too high for another player to realistically come in and make a return on investment in most places in the country, with the exception of basically urban, where the population's density both reduces the cost to build out because there's already a ton of existing infrastructure and it makes it easier, but also there's enough subscribers there that even if I only get, say, like 30% market share, I'm making enough money to make a return on my investment in like 15 years, which is what I need to happen for me to survive. Because a lot of times what you'll see happen is you'll see some good intentioned person. Maybe there's a Doxis dentist that wants to come in and revolutionize the internet game. They want to come in and help rule America. If there's already an incumbent player like a Comcast or someone like that, what ends up happening is basically there's not enough subscribers, so I go out of business within like the first 3 years. Like I just don't have enough money to even sustain the installation part of service to even add customers, and no one knows about me, or people complain that my rates are too expensive compared to the incumbent player who already has the established infrastructure, so they can just charge lower rates to begin with anyway. And if they really want to push me out, which will happen, they'll see a lot of times they'll run aggressive promos for like the next 3 years. Like they'll be like, get $30 gig internet for 3-year price lock to ensure that the new player, just dies. Like the cost is just too high, and the only way that gets fixed is if the government comes in to help reduce these barriers of entries. Like plain and simple. So it's not that the government's allowing monopolies. It's just that unfettered capitalism with an industry like this one that's infrastructure dependent with high capital requirements to start don't tend to allow for healthy competition. Yeah, and one step further, the reason why you see so much competition in wireless, ironically enough, is because of the government giving so much stimulus to the industry. Like, you wouldn't see T-Mobile, for example, building out to rural if it wasn't for the government repeatedly allocating funds and, giving spectrum to these carriers to deploy. Like, that's just like the government kind of stepped in here to make sure that there was some amount of healthy competition here. And you see it all the time with the auctions too, and like the rules that talk about how much mid-band holding is going to happen and how low band was controlled. I'm not saying that happens perfectly because we already know low band is very messy, but it's part of the reason why you see at least some level of competition in the wireless space. Otherwise, if all things were considered equal and it was just left to the market to decide, you would have saw AT&T absorb T-Mobile way back when, and we'd basically be living in duopoly land with like AT&T and Verizon. And if they had their way, they'd probably be merging back into Mobile. Giuseppe Jimmy, very good comrade. The state appreciates your words. You guys keep saying comrade. That's a communist thing. Socialism is actually very different.
Dennis,
Yeah.
Dennis, he's talking to me.
Mm.
Also, we got $5 from Terrence Wilson saying, "What are your highest hopes for Apple's Far Out event? Great show, by the way." I'll take this one first. My expectation is saying they invented and revolutionized something that happened somewhere else.
I have zero expectations, so that way I can't be disappointed. Look, I might be an iPhone user, but I'm not an Apple sheep. I'm the wrong person for it. I'm the wrong person for it. And Pete hates Apple, so we're bad people to ask. But thank you for the super chat. I know Sneed would appreciate it. He's just probably grabbing a drink. But he didn't send anything in the private chat to say he was going anywhere. I can't tell if he's grabbing a drink, but I'm assuming so. Anywho, Pete, got a question for you.
The answer is 42.
Okay.
What's the question?
I'm going to ask you on stream, even though I asked you this before in private, but would you be willing to test out Comcast Internet?
If you paid.
Oh, come on, bro. We got all these super chats, bro.
I don't get any of the super chats.
Neither do I.
I'll pay for it.
There you go. Sneed,
I'll pay for
perfect
it.
timing. Now will you do it, Pete, for 1 month?
So we're gonna have to talk with Carlos and see if we can find a way to fake up an account, because it'd look really bad for someone for a 1 month internet thing when they do a 2-year promo with a ballooning price after 12 months.
Why would it look weird? It's no contract, and also they have the 30-day money back guarantee thing, dude. You could literally cancel on like the 27th day and be like, nah, this wasn't better than I'm going back to Nextlight.
I thought I set a low bar for improvement on you jackals, and you failed to even live up to my previous expectation.
So will
Why
you test
you
it?
suck?
Pete, if you're
I'll
willing to
think
test
about
it,
it.
I'll pay for it. Just let me know if you want to do it.
All right, I'll think about it.
All right. Which tier?
I can't get it here. I can test. Nope, I can't test anything. I'm done testing stuff. Screw Cox. Screw them all.
Actually, I asked you to test Cox again after all this time because it's been like 2 years.
No, I'm not doing it, bro.
But going back to Pete real quick, if you do test
ballot
Comcast, what speed are you going to try from them? I'm just curious. What's the speed that you're going to use to test with?
Can I do a screen share?
Sure.
What's the uplink? Do they offer a plan with anything over 10 meg uplink?
Yes, lots.
Right.
And actually, Pete's market's interesting because they're offering speed tiers that don't even exist anywhere else because of Colorado law. Pete was educating me about how Colorado requires like some minimum speed tiers to be available for the EBB fund or AACP program or something like that.
Yep,
But
them in their socialist stuff.
But basically, Comcast speed tiers in a nutshell, and they have different names for this depending on where you live, basically goes something along the lines of like 50 by 10 is their lowest, 100 by 10, 300 by 10, 600 by 20,
Yo,
900 by 20.
Pop up my screen, one of you.
900 by 20, 1200 by 35, and then
Let's go with the $80 a month.
Okay, you're going to do gig? Okay, cool.
I mean, 20 less and I'm getting half the speeds.
Do you even have anything that can get above the gig speed? Do you even have like a multi-gig NIC?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything I have. Wait, no. My switches are limited to 1 gig.
Okay, so you'll be capped at like 940 then.
Yeah. So, looks like I might be doing the 600.
Does your market have the increased uplink yet, Pete?
Let me see.
Because I know here in Pittsburgh they unveiled the new 2 gig plan, so it's 2 gig by 200. You have to have their modem rental though to actually be able to get the 200 uplink.
Let's see. Plan and by the way, $2 super chat from Low Key, quite generous. He says 1 gig for $80. Cox would never. Yeah. So
Optimum might be the only company worse than Cox.
Yeah, Optimum is trash. They're Altice. They're the ones that I reported on like a year ago or two whenever they lowered their up because they were offering 35 upload across the board and they purposely lowered it to be in line with the industry during the pandemic. So
thanks, Loki. Appreciate the super chat. 1 gig for $80. Cox would never.
Oh, internet. Here we go.
Oh, there it is. 35 uploads right at the top.
Yep.
So nope, that sucks.
No.
It would have been nice if you had the increased uplink because, you know.
I could with my computer. I could just set up the. I'm gonna stop screen sharing. I could just set up the Wi-Fi in one room because I'd have to install the thing myself, and I can get 5 gigahertz from upstairs down here, and my Bluetooth Wi-Fi thing is rated for 6E. So
yeah, but Pete, like I actually want you to use their gateway. Like I actually want you to use their equipment, experience the app, like give the whole like Comcast feel.
ooh, this has sounded trickier.
Well, for one, it would eliminate your Ethernet bottleneck because you'd have the multi-gig port for your computer to get the full speeds on the gig.
I do have a 2.5 on my.
That's perfect. There's one 2.5 gig port on their XB7 and XB8.
Guess I'd have to run it through my basement window.
and then, but I want you to like experience the app, and then also, I'd like you to test out the Flexbox.
What the hell is a Flexbox?
It's basically their version of like a Roku.
Let's see. How can I do this? Oh, by the way, we get a $10 super chat from Chester Paul. I'm not even going to try that surname.
I'm going to say Segroy.
I don't know how to pronounce SG. I'm sorry, Chester. So, there are my retro games. There's a 4K TV right there. Retro games, computer monitor, 4K TV, side monitor, and creeping down here, chat monitor. So I could do up a Flexbox.
Yeah, I actually really liked it when I had the chance to use one. Specifically, in particular, what I liked was the voice remote. I actually found that it had a better voice remote than Roku and to some extent Google's, mainly because so Google Voice Assistant's obviously the better assistant. The problem with Google Voice Assistant, though, is that Google doesn't seem to optimize it for Google TV. So, like, I might say something like random, like, I don't know, salt documentaries. Okay, I'll just use that as the example. And instead, Google will start pulling up, like, just random stuff on, like, do you want to, like, order, or, like, maybe it's like how does the weather work, and it'll tell me about what my weather is in Pittsburgh. Like, I don't know, like Google Voice Assistant seems like too generic versus like the voice assistant on Xfinity when I used it was very like contextual. Like I might just say like the name of a movie or a show specifically, and because they don't do all that extra BS, it just sifts through every platform that they have available to find where that show is to watch. And if I do subscribe or I'm logged into one of them, it'll immediately show me the one that I can watch it on for free, which I found convenient for finding content. And that's what I specifically liked about it. Outside of that, though, it's basically just a Roku. But the voice remote's really nice.
I don't like those voice remotes.
Really? Because I love them because I don't like actually using directional paths to try to type in everything on YouTube when I'm searching for a video on my TV.
Well, part of the reason why I don't like the voice remotes is there are some times when my voice sounds different, and typically, when that happens, they start failing. So I avoid the voice remotes.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But I feel pretty good about the show. Going into Dennis, Comcast is garbage, sort of like going into Walmart. Meh. I mean,
Walmart's also garbage, so he has a point.
I was actually gonna say Walmart's actually not that bad, but differences of opinions, I suppose. Michael Lounge, I want to try the Flexbox, but Comcast is not willing to sell the hardware. I would rather own my hardware to avoid the rental fees. Yeah, Comcast doesn't sell their own equipment, and it doesn't work if you don't have Comcast service, but there is no rental fees for the Flexbox. It's free, so I would just rent one for free, and then when you cancel your service, you just return it. Or return it if you don't want it anymore. But anywho, I had a pretty good show. I am going to go ahead and round this out with a proper ending. I want to thank everyone for coming out and supporting my man Sneed. He had to step away, but I know that he is always appreciative for the community supporting him in his endeavors. We should definitely surprise him so when he goes to actually look back on this, he sees a bunch of thumbs up. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you smash the like button for him. And also, make sure you leave a comment. Like after the show ends and the comment section loads up, everyone just leave a comment for the man. He does read them. Hopefully nice things for him. I'm sure he'll enjoy that as a nice little
I
surprise.
do put the hammer down on the mean comments, like no personal attacks.
Yeah, obviously. I'm saying hopefully something nice. But yeah, thank you again for everyone that came out. It's always a pleasure to be on his channel. And Pete, always good to talk to you, my friend, as well. But I'm going to go ahead and end the show unless you have
You're
anything else to say.
eventually going to get bored with me, man.
How could I ever get bored of you, my friend? You're my little bearded dragon.
And I'm a never-ending font of knowledge.
Yes. But anyway, peace out, guys. Peace.